Appreciate everyone again making the time to join us today. Like Paul mentioned, this is the sixth cybersecurity bootcamp we've conducted in our cybersecurity series. We will be doing a new series in 2025, but this is the final in the six-package cybersecurity bootcamp series that we've been conducting for the last couple of weeks here. If you get any value out of this, if you like it, if you think, hey, that was helpful, that's a different way of thinking about it. I have some customers or some partners or some relationships that could use some help in these areas. Please like it, please share it. All of the bootcamp series is recorded and saved and available in our partner portal. So on our webpage, if you just go to partners and click two buttons to get into the partner portal, you can go to the resource tab and see any of these recorded. And again, if you like them, if they're valuable for you, we're doing these and we put this program together for our partners. A lot of partners asked us for, hey, training around cybersecurity. How do you guys engage in it? How do you differentiate? How can we learn more about it? We put this program together for you. So if you do like it, or if you think there's things that we could do better, or could help share with you, more from a training perspective, we'd love that feedback. Please, like Paul mentioned, any questions you have, go ahead and throw them in the chat. We can respond to them live, as well as we got a couple of minutes at the end. We'll be going through some Q&A. So appreciate you all making the time to come and spend an hour with us during the holiday season. Like I mentioned, we are 7 days out from Christmas. Hope everyone's having a great time. But we're going to jump into some bundling and some packages of cybersecurity and a lot around risk management. So we're going to jump right into it. And like we mentioned today, we're going to be covering how to bundle cybersecurity solutions for added value for your clients. Every time you get involved in helping organizations select technology, there's not a one-size-fits-all type of bundle, right? So there's customization in every cybersecurity engagement that we get involved in, and we're going to go through a little bit how to tailor those requirements, based on what your customers are needing help with. Partnering with Quest, again, we're going to be covering how Quest engages in cybersecurity bundled services and how we get there and how we explore those discussions with you and with your clients. We're going to go through bundling strategies. We're going to talk about customization. And really, one of the things we want to focus on in today's session is risk management. Organizations that are dealing with cybersecurity threats, this is one of the largest risks from a disaster and a business continuity standpoint that your customers are dealing with. Oftentimes, when you think about risk management, you think about, personnel, access to critical facilities, access to critical infrastructure, telecommunications, data center performance, all of those, natural disaster elements around risk management, pandemics. Those are all things that when you go through disaster recovery and risk management matrices that firms have to analyze. Something we want to make sure is well communicated today with you and for your customers is cybersecurity threats, malware, ransomware, bad actors, extortion, organized crime. These are disasters that happen to organizations at the digital layer and are really one of the most prevalent areas of pain that we're seeing in the market right now. So there's the risk management strategy around how do you mitigate that impact to your customer's business? How do you build bundled solutions that can help protect them from that disaster? So huge opportunity there. We're going to walk through the idea of selling the bundle and evolving to a bundled service, as well as understanding what the client needs from their feedback and how to kind of layer in that defense. All of this from a Quest standpoint, again, our go-to-market is how can we help? And we found that how can we help approach really leads to long-term relationships. So why are your customers dealing with this? Why are your customers, reaching out to you for cybersecurity solutions? Why is this such a hot topic in the market today? Is because the threat landscape continues to evolve and it continues to advance very, very quickly, right? Cyber threats are continuing to advance their automated attacks. I was on a call with a customer just yesterday, And they said the classic response of, yeah, we don't really have any data or any financial data when we're not a target. We hear that all the time. Small, medium, large businesses, everyone kind of sometimes thinks that because they don't necessarily have, the, banking information or financial information, or, they don't have, 20 Bitcoin in some wallet, that they don't have to secure their infrastructure because no one's trying to steal what they have. That could not be further from the truth. Cybersecurity threats are a version of basically they're a version of organized crime, and they're looking to extort organizations for their data, right? So if it's a regulatory environment in healthcare, financial services, the penalties are serious, but there's loss of there's reputational risk, as well as organizations that maybe have nothing to do with healthcare, financial services, or manufacturing, that it's still their business, and the threat actors are automating the attacks. They're not targeting people. They're basically targeting the internet and looking for vulnerabilities and automating that. And we're seeing machine learning. We talked about it a little bit last time with artificial intelligence. We made it 11 minutes before saying artificial intelligence. I apologize. So that, those are automated attacks coming after your customers. These are not deliberate attacks for the most part. They're looking for vulnerabilities in order to deliver malware and encrypt your clients. Regulations from a risk management standpoint are increasing. You're seeing CMMC standards come out, multiple controls come out, multiple controls being put in place by Department of Defense and regulatory bodies that are pushing down on smaller and smaller suppliers in that supply chain. And organizations are having to confirm and are being audited on these specific controls. So when we talk about bundled solutions, we're not just bundling multi-factor authentication, backups, patch management, and a lot of the other services we're going to be talking about today, because it's a good idea. It is a good idea, but also these are being enforced by audits, right? So different controls are being pushed down on your clients, and these bundled services have to be addressed and accommodated. Like I mentioned before, business continuity is being impacted by cyber threats. It is being impacted by malware. It's being impacted by ransomware. It is one of the most prevalent disasters we're seeing in the middle market, happening consistently, and it's impacting everyone from construction organizations, financial services, healthcare, manufacturing, government sector. It's impacting their ability to support their clients and their end users. And we see it every day. Quest is seeing between 3 and 4 cybersecurity events, malware outbreaks, and requests for emergency support from non-Quest customers every week. And we're one MSSP in the marketplace with our available reach. We're letting organizations know we can help all the time, but we're seeing 3 to 4 net new customers every week come in some state of disarray and some state of disaster, with their organizations being held ransom. So business continuity is a huge area where clients are needing help around cybersecurity. And again, they're going to be at different levels of realization of that fact as you talk with them about what they're dealing with. So when we're talking about bundling cybersecurity services, there's a couple reasons we do it. One of them is every aspect of cybersecurity support and every aspect of IT is tied to the other, right? So when you're talking about endpoint security, for example, endpoint security is going to help your clients monitor, manage, and secure their endpoints, like their laptops, their desktops, their tablets, their cellular devices, anything that their clients are using at the edge. Usually this has an operating system, either Android, Microsoft OS, or potentially an Apple OS. But these are edge devices where you put security and monitoring tools to monitor and manage that endpoint from a compromised state. Usually about 70% of what we're seeing from a breach standpoint happens at the endpoint, when an end user typically will either click or open a malicious file or a malicious link and download a package that has malicious software on it, right? So it has malware on it that's going to either download a remaining package or start infecting other adjacent networks and machines. So the reason I bring that up is you have one layer at the endpoint, but if that endpoint gets exploited and that malware gets missed, the potential for that malware taking negative action, if you don't have additional bundled services around it to prevent it from doing so, is causing your clients additional risk. Not every solution is going to catch every threat. So you want to bundle different solutions in order to layer that defense, like we talked about in the last episode. So one option for this, and one thing that we see, is you layer in additional barriers that can prevent that malicious code from taking action. One thing that oftentimes when an endpoint gets compromised, that malicious code is going to call home or call back to a server somewhere else to get the rest of the package onto that endpoint. These guys are pretty sophisticated. So if you open a link and download some malicious code, that is going to start running its process. Sometimes the process is to call home. So organizations that are bundling services, and something we like to do is you put in some DNS security and some URL filtering. So in the event one of your end users makes a mistake, that malicious code cannot have the permission to call home and export or import data back to that endpoint from a blocked website or zone on the internet. So it basically, okay, you got malicious code, we get notified of that malicious code, you see the threat, but it can't action. It can't move laterally, or it can't download the rest of the package, right? So that's going to help bundle that. And that's going to help block that from exploiting its intended effect. Simplification of this, there's a ton going on. So I just talked about, yeah.
Adam, real quick, sorry. Gary is messaging me that he can't see the slide deck. I can see it personally. If anybody is watching and can see the slide deck, can you let me know in the chat? I'd appreciate it. Okay, Eric can see it. So Gary, message me, Gary, and we can figure it out. So great. Never mind, Adam. Sorry. Everything's good.
Okay. And yeah, right now we're on the benefits of bundling services and kind of going through how we increase the value and simplify management there. So appreciate the feedback, guys. Thank you. Excellent. So the simplified management is, we just talked about one threat vector, right? An end user downloads malicious code, and you're as an MSSP, we can see that, hey, that endpoint is infected, right? That endpoint is going to take action based on the malicious code that's been downloaded. If you don't have layered defense that prevents that malicious code from moving laterally in the environment, or you can't isolate that breach, you're vulnerable. And also the simplified management of having visibility of that breach is huge, because a lot of times organizations may have different security packages that are great tools, fantastic tools, but they're not communicating with each other. So simplifying that management and unifying a security approach. So, hey, we see an incident happening, and how do we mitigate it from taking additional negative action? People are going to make mistakes. Things are going to happen. The breach is going to potentially happen at the endpoint. End users are going to make mistakes. Something that we like to bundle in, because you don't just throw your hands up and say, well, shoot, we don't have training. End users are always going to make mistakes. You still need to train the human to be that firewall. So the human who's taking action on the endpoint, even though we're still seeing 70 to 80% of it is an end user making a mistake, you still need to train that person. So the first line of defense is training that person. Second line of defense is securing the endpoint. And as you move up the stack, you want to prevent, in the event that endpoint gets compromised, what happens next from the bad actor's perspective? What's that person going to do next? And what they usually do next is they call home to download the rest of the package. But then what if they don't call home to download the rest of the package? What if all that software has already been downloaded and it's not an exploit that's going to download the rest of the malware code? It's going to traverse laterally across your environment and look for key assets and then report the key assets back to, back to the bad actors. Sometimes organizations, we've heard this statement before, organizations get breached and they have no idea they're breached for months at a time. So how are organizations getting visibility of malicious code that doesn't belong in their system, reconning their environment, moving laterally from, okay, we exploited the end user. Now, how are we going to laterally move through the environment to understand what we basically just breached? Think about it this way. Someone's breaking into your house. They don't necessarily know where your safe is, right? Maybe they sent someone in before who kind of cased the joint a little bit. It's the holiday season, right? Christmas movies. Everyone loves Home Alone. Remember, the knuckleheads are casing the neighborhood and they're figuring out where the money is. It's nothing different in the digital landscape. So bundling in the ability to have visibility across the network for people moving in and out of that environment is a huge opportunity to bundle that service in for your clients as well. But then you have to be able to tie it into a management plane that communicates with the end user, the endpoint, the network, the systems, everything all at once. So it's a comprehensive cybersecurity solution that typically sometimes those assets don't talk to each other. If you can get that right, if you can bundle the endpoint, the end user training, the network visibility, the system visibility, preventing exploits from sending data out of the network and basically denying that. Fantastic customer loyalty, because there's amazing trust there when you identify a threat, mitigate the threat, and then patch the vulnerability. So it's a constant fight, but if you get that right, you're in with your customer. You're on the same side of the table. You're helping them defend the castle. So we do this, and this takes time, right? So how are you gonna craft that? How are you gonna understand what they have? So what we like to do is basically you have the conversation with them. What tools do they have invested and what have they acquired today to secure their environment? Do they have, I was on a call with a customer just this morning around, hey, they have an SD-WAN appliance and their vendor's telling them that all the traffic is going back to their environment and being cleaned and it's completely secure. And the client was like, yeah, I'm about 90% sure that that's actually happening. Okay, that's where they're at. And that's what's going on. So what do they have in place today? Everyone has some layer of defense already in place today, right? Everyone has some type of endpoint detection scheme underway. I don't care if it's Microsoft Defender or Sophos or SentinelOne or CrowdStrike or Carbon Black or whatever it is. They've invested in something for the most part, I hope. So understanding what they have in place today, and then what requirements are they trying to achieve? And does that existing tool set accommodate what they're trying to do? And then are there additional layers that need to be addressed and added to that in order to achieve the outcome they're looking for? Some organizations are okay with a little bit of risk. Some organizations are like, yeah, I don't need to see everything. Basically, if you see some malicious traffic going out, we don't do business with anyone overseas, as an example, like a customer might say. So if you see, any traffic traversing to an IP range that's outside, let's do some national border defense kind of, geofencing here and say, yeah, we're not communicating with those IP ranges over there. Okay, you can do that. There's vulnerabilities around that, of course. The bad actors are pretty smart. They can figure out how to relay things, but That's okay. That's understanding what outcome are they looking for, right? And then also, what outcome do they not have a choice about, right? Some organizations, like we mentioned, are getting additional regulatory requirements and additional controls forced upon them from regulators in order to continue to do business with their clients. Those are some of the best opportunities because that's their business. In order for them to continue generating revenue, they have to make this decision. It's no longer a nice to have or an insurance or the sales in the sales engagement there is not fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's fear that they're going to no doubt lose their revenue if they don't do this. So that is an opportunity for you to understand, okay, what regulatory requirements they're trying to hit and how do you help them layer to accommodate those regulatory controls and manage that risk. The last thing around, customization is a lot of times people think that customization means expensive. It does not mean expensive, but it means that you're listening to what they have in place today. You understand the gaps they're trying to fill, and then you fill those in a way that can be repeated multiple times for that client. So they're not having to start at ground zero every single time in order to go through that process again. We're going to go through a little example here down the road around, hey, here's how Quest did it over 2 years. So we're going to go through a nice example there that created the ability to scale and support a client long-term, but can also be flexible in leveraging what they've already invested in. Oftentimes in the market, in the channel, a lot of us see organizations that pitch their one service or their 2 SKUs or their 3 offerings. They're a SIM provider, or they're an EDR provider, or they're an MDR provider, with rapid response and IR and really cool, customized, displays and things like that. And they run a 24/7 security operations center. And here's the right answer, customer. You need to buy this. Some customers like that. Some customers have already made investments. So how do you give them a scalable option? You got to understand where they are, what they have in place today, and how you're going to move forward with, additional layers to help them out. And most of the biggest opportunity we're seeing right now is around compliance. So when you're working with Quest, right, we've been doing this for 40 plus years. We have the experience, we have the risk management team, we have the DR team, and the compliance organizations that work with every level of government, from federal to state and local to regional governments, and from defense contractors, Department of Defense, Department of Energy, and large scale contractors that are pushing down regulations and government entities that are pushing down regulations that we're familiar and can help the organizations that support those DoD contractors, SLED accounts, those types of things. We understand where that comes from, and we've been doing this for 40 years, right? So we have that. That's muscle memory for us. We understand compliance. We understand, the threats that are out there. We run a 24/7 incident response team. We know what products work and what products don't. And we know, what your clients are dealing with from an operations standpoint. It's not easy to manage all of these different point solutions, right? So what Quest can do for you as a partner is help bundle those together, leveraging our expertise. Or if your client's just trying to understand where to start, you work with Quest to understand, okay, how do we tailor this solution? How do we take the regulations that are being forced on you? How do we take all these controls, leverage what you have today, and then layer in additional services and give you a consistent monthly reoccurring charge to cover that, right? It's a continuous process. It never ends. It's ongoing. You're in the right seat with the customer, like working with them. It's a constant engagement. So cybersecurity is not a one and done sale. It's not a, slam in the SIM tool and hit the road. It's a constant engagement, and clients are sometimes apprehensive around where do they start and who do they really trust to help them put that together. Quest, we built a cyber defense suite, which is a bundle of products that we see organizations struggling with that are going through incidents and dealing with incident containment. And maybe they messed up in one of those areas or fell behind in one of those areas or trusted the wrong organization in one of those areas. So we put together a cyber defense suite that our partners can customize and work with their clients to say, okay, they have email security, and we'll get into this a little bit later. They have firewalls, but they could really use help with these two building blocks and this asset here. You bundle that together. You can either sell it to them or we can provide it as a service, and gives them a lot of layered security and a lot of customization there. So clients that want to partner with us, it's an ongoing engagement. It can start with an assessment, but it builds into a long-term engagement. We have clients in the cybersecurity space that have been with us 25, 30 years, working with us continuously in the banking industry. That call I mentioned I was on with one of our long-term consultants on our team. He's been with the firm. He's been working with us for 25 years. And some of the first two banks he brought on are still working with us today. So if you get this right, this builds a long-term relationship where you're in there helping them. And one of the ways that you can help identify areas of vulnerability or ways to bring value is through regular assessments, checkups, and keeping your clients informed. We do security advisory notifications at multiple times a week. Anytime a vulnerability comes out, you as a partner can opt into receiving these as well. So if you're interested in receiving our security advisory notifications, you can work with your national channel manager to get on that list. But these are 0-day vulnerabilities, hot fix patch resolutions that come out. We all remember the July incident that happened that kind of took out, about half the world's operating systems. Those advisories come out from us, from our vendors that we work with. We position those all the time, and we can help basically continually coach and notify clients with proactive engagement. Again, it's not one and done. And then your clients are going to continually evolve as they roll out endpoint and maybe DNS and URL filtering and maybe some email security. They can evolve, and we'll go through a real world example here in a second, into, hey, they need help managing their firewalls, or they need help with a SIM solution, or they need help with password management. There's all sorts of things that can be bolted on as you build more and more trust as that person who can bundle those solutions together. So fantastic opportunity, long-term relationship building. Cybersecurity is one of those things that if you get it right, your clients are going to continue to come back to you over and over again. So from a cybersecurity bundle standpoint, this is one of my favorite use cases. I reference it a lot, and it's something that we put together with a client. It was about a little over 2 years ago, and it took time. It takes time to get in and to develop that trust. But something I want to take you guys through as a real world scenario, as far as, hey, how does this matter to you as a trusted advisor, as a seller in the channel? How can you leverage Quest, to help your clients? So a little background on the account. It's an assisted living organization, right? So they have about 20 residential locations. They have about 1,400 residents total that live in their communities, and around 200 users, right? 200 what we classify as IT technical users, people who have email accounts, their objects in an Active Directory, and they exist in this company's digital landscape. And they do about 32 million a year. They did about 32 million a year in annual revenue in 2021. So not a small company, not a huge Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 company. Solid middle market opportunity. And for you guys as trusted advisors and as consultants and as folks out there in the market, just so you know, there are about 10,000 accounts that are of this size. So in the United States alone, I think the last count I pulled was around 11,500, but right, just rough numbers. There's about 10,000 accounts of this size. So we got engaged initially. So month 0, you'll see at the top of the chart there. We got engaged initially to help support the client's firewalls and their monitor and support, patch and maintain their edge security as a service from month one. So we put together a comprehensive service level agreement, and we got brought in to help manage their edge security, right? So that's month one. As we continued to stay engaged with them and work with them and our partner, we started to bolt on additional services. So help desk isn't necessarily a cybersecurity bundle, but it's listed in there as you know how we grew in month 3. So we started at $8,000, and by the third month we almost doubled that. 6th month happened. Classic example: an end user, a technical user, got breached. They downloaded some malware. They got into a little bit of trouble. It moved laterally. They got some of their data got encrypted. We got involved to help them clean it up. And then we basically, by the 6th month, they understood a little bit more about what we do and who we are. We bundled endpoint protection, SIM, and an IR retainer. So we put endpoint protection in there to help them layer that endpoint security. Hey, if someone makes a mistake, we can isolate and notify them quickly. The actors who attacked them were relatively mature, and they didn't have the client at that time didn't have visibility of lateral movement or coordinated efforts to extract passwords and usernames and things like that. So we layered in a SIM solution where we can correlate events. Basically, if something's getting distracted over here and we see a bad actor over here, we can correlate those events and basically see like, hey, you have bad actors trying to, breach your passwords while at the same time distracting you over here with some tactics around, trying to brute force break your firewall or something. So that was a bundle that we put together by month 6. So that was an additional $11,000 a month bundle to secure all that. Month 8, right? We went through a little bit, and they had a remaining term of contract, so we had to wait a little bit, but we helped them manage and secure their backups. And you might think like, well, what are you talking about backups from a cybersecurity standpoint? Managed backups and immutable storage are the cheapest thing your clients can do to secure their environment, right? So having quality, managed, confirmed, usable backups and an immutable off-net, write once, read many, air-gapped copy of your data is the cheapest insurance any of your clients can provide around reasonably securing their environment. So I know you say, hey, backups is more of a DR, kind of a business continuity concept. Yes, but it's a fantastic opportunity to say, hey guys, you really need to test your backups. You really need to have an air-gapped, immutable copy of it. So we had to wait a couple of months for their existing provider to kind of expire, and we put in a managed backup solution for them for an immutable copy, right? They went through a breach. They understood, hey, we got to restore from backups and have a clean copy. So great bolt-on opportunity there. You moving through, they wanted to use our Tox retainer. We talked about that a couple months ago around on-call support. So they bundled that. Around a little over a year and a half, they decided, and they were having to go through some audits. They had some controls coming down. They provided healthcare services. So they leveraged our team to act as a virtual CISO to help them with that audit, right? They needed help responding to the questions, confirming that, hey, these controls are in place, documenting that, attesting to that, signing on the dotted line saying, yes, this is what we're doing and this is how we're securing our residents' data. That was a virtual CISO. So that got bundled in. So as you can see, within the first 18 months, we went from an $8,000 engagement, 8,000 MRR, nothing to sneeze at. That's a fantastic contract. We will take those all day long. Awesome. But by staying engaged and bundling additional cybersecurity services and staying close around, hey, this is how we can help. This is how we can help. We're now, by a year and a half, we're now at a $36,000 a month contract. Fantastic opportunity. Now this is where it gets a lot of fun, to become a lot of fun. At year 2, their firewalls had, they were going into life. They had the partner was okay with us aggregating telecommunications circuits with them as the partner record. So we were like, okay, cool. let's deliver the firewall capabilities as a service. So once they're 2 years down the road, their existing firewalls had gone into life. They didn't want to re-up them or replace them or CapEx them. They said, hey, can you provide this whole thing as a service? So we bundled the whole thing as a service, the firewalls and their telecommunications, bundled it all together. Like you guys probably would think of like a Cox Communication or a Comcast business or something like that that does that. But we're bundling that with all of this here as well. So that was a great contract. Added a little under 18K a month in services to that client for firewall as a service support. So we bought the underlying technology. We're MSSP for a lot of the major manufacturers out there. We dropped those in and we bundled the circuits and refreshed their entire network for that partner. Huge upside, awesome win. And then 4 months later, where that you become a trusted partner here, we were able to do a managed Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi is one of the big vulnerabilities for folks. If you don't have a hardened Wi-Fi environment, that's usually a good breach from a on-site breach vector for folks. We bundled a managed wireless service in there where we included the installation, the ongoing support, and the help desk. So great use case. We start at $8,000. We end up at $78,000 a month. This is a long-term customer, been with us going on 4 years now. Huge opportunity. Some of the spelling. Sorry about the spelling mistakes, guys. My bad. Darcy, I apologize. I don't think I put this through marketing. So just one more thing here is, as a partner, there's all sorts of additional opportunities around non-reoccurring as well. So we were selling additional professional services, and important to note, we ran an ROI analysis on this opportunity, and if you exclude soft costs, right? So there's an assumption there around total cost of ownership, but if you buy into the strategy that Gartner and Forrester and IDC put out there, that when you acquire software or hardware, like let's just say you buy something for $100,000 year one, that's going to cost you 3x over the next 3 to 5 years to manage that investment. So if you pay $1 million for a bunch of hardware, it's going to cost you about $3 million over the course of 5 years to manage, maintain, support, and deal with that platform. So as a MSSP, we are a significant, we return significant return on investment for those clients by OpExing that and delivering it as a service. Longer conversation. Next bootcamp series, we're going to get a little bit more into some of those ROI conversations around acquiring CapEx and OpEx. So stay tuned for that. But just a little nugget there for that opportunity. I like to position as well. So moving on. I know we're coming up here on the end of the session, but from a sales technique standpoint, so how do we start here? How do you get involved in a middle market opportunity like that, or an SMB opportunity? One of our best, and this is where we typically start. We love to start with what we call assessment-led conversations. So if you get curious around how your clients are managing their cybersecurity platforms today, do they need any help? Would they like to chat about it? Our security advisors, right? So we send out, hey, here's a vulnerability on this platform. Here's a known zero-day exploit that just got popular. It's a category 5, like you really need to address it. And we send it out to the clients, and we send it out to you. Sometimes those are great like notifications, but also sometimes those are great conversation catalysts for, hey, thanks for sending this. Can we talk about it? Would you like to discuss how you can proactively manage this in the future? We do assessments all the time that are based on what your clients are dealing with specifically, whether it's at the endpoint, at the firewall, SASE solution, wireless, on-premise, whatever it is. We have basically we call them assessment conversations. They're just discussions on, hey, what are you dealing with? Would you like to have a conversation about how Quest has dealt with this in the past? It's not a sales engagement, not pitching anything. It's basically a open door to have a discussion with them around what they're dealing with, and would they like to know how we've dealt with that in the past. Some clients are good for it. Some clients are like, no, thanks. It's going to be a timeshare pitch. Not interested. Totally understand. But we continue to send out that messaging to you and to our customers and joint customers around, would you like to have a conversation? And we send those out to you guys every month if you're interested in it, on what we call our quick quest updates around conversations we're trying to have. So you can leverage that and engage our marketing team and all sorts of good stuff there. The checkup program is another way to start the bundling conversation. And the checkup program is a very low cost, low barrier to entry posture assessment of your client's environment in 7 key areas. So there are 7 areas of focus where we typically see organizations get into trouble. That includes firewall, it includes remote connectivity, it includes multi-factor authentication, it includes passwords, patching, and a couple others. And basically what we do is, for one checkup, one of those line items, $750. We have a 3 bundle and we have a full package bundle. The full package is $4,500. We check all those systems. We provide an executive summary and kind of give them feedback as far as where they are and where they can improve in those scenarios. So that's a great catalyst. It's not a very high cost from a cybersecurity checkup standpoint. It's not a full invasive business impact assessment or security posture assessment or even a penetration test. It's pop the hood, take a look at the firewall configs, look at the policies, look at how the endpoint security is notifying folks of vulnerabilities, give real actionable feedback in an executive summary format to the client, and you're there to help. You're giving them good quality feedback, and it's not a very big investment. From a compliance standpoint, we do have a risk management strategy where we can provide annual, biannual, monthly penetration tests and reputational assessments. So these are going to give your client a good snapshot of what compliance risks they have in place and where they can improve. And then typically out of that one-time professional service engagement, there's lots of upside to add layers of defense and help them square themselves away. So annual pen tests from a compliance standpoint, that's kind of like, that's table stakes. Everybody's got to do a pen test, or they definitely should be. We recommend a reputational assessment, which is a consistent monitoring offering. And we actually have if you're on our distribution list, we have a promotion going on right now that is evangelizing a security posture assessment before the end of the year that can help out and has really helped grow that. So last thing to cover on as far as the bundle. This is where we start the bundle, right? This is where this is our cyber defense suite that I mentioned earlier. And these are areas where we typically see organizations needing help. And these are all standalone services that can be positioned by themselves. But more often than not, a client has 1 or 2 of these in place, but needs a couple bundled together and delivered as a service. So if you're interested in learning more about the Cyber Defense Suite, please engage your channel manager or partners at questsys.com, and we'll jump on the line with you and walk through all these specifically. But again, these are a layered approach. So you have endpoint, right? We're starting at the endpoint, as we mentioned in the example before. Email security, a lot of breaches come in through email, a lot of malware coming in through email. Device monitoring and alerting. Your clients have invested in, I don't care if it's, there's tons of platforms out there. I'm not going to mention any specific by name, but getting the tuning and the alerts and the feedback back from those monitoring tools is a skill in and of itself. And we provide device monitoring and full MDR services as an option for clients. Vulnerability scans and patch management. These typically go hand in hand because oftentimes when we do a reputational assessment or a vulnerability scan, first thing we notice is a huge gap in a client's patching. So we run patch management as a service for folks. We start that out with a patch management assessment to see how far behind they are in their patching. No one likes to admit how far they are behind in the patching, but most of your clients, I'd say about 80% of your clients are not keeping up with it. Very few organizations that we actually get involved with are up to date and successfully patching. So big opportunity there. DNS security, that call home feature, that accessing malicious code off the internet and your clients' people going out to the internet and going to sites they shouldn't. That's something that as a layered defense can be bundled in with anything. Oftentimes we see DNS and endpoint and email kind of as a starting bundle. Password protection and breach detection. This is when we see, hey, there's one IP that is trying to log in with 12 different, 12 different usernames in the last 3 minutes, and they got in with one of them and now they're trying to move laterally, right? So you probably breached and you probably need to take corrective action like quickly, right? So password protection, understanding who your users are, and breach detection. And then, jumping through the rest of them here, the one at the bottom of the stack here, I don't know if you guys can read that one, but again, the cheapest insurance you can provide for your customers from a cyber defense suite standpoint is having immutable storage. All this stuff is great. These are all layered defenses and are fantastic, and you need all this stuff. But if you're looking for, hey, you got to have secure backups, and you got to have secure backups off net and an immutable copy that cannot be rewritten or compromised. Because once the bad actors are smart, we've saved firms millions of dollars by restoring and helping them restore from a backup. And that is one of the first things the bad actors go after is the backups. So if you bundle in anything, and you can talk to your clients about it, bundle in immutable storage from the Cyber Defense Suite. And again, just a quick case study. This happened about a month and a half ago. We had a nonprofit organization, about 250 employees. They were very unsure about what their MSSP was providing. They thought they had backups, for example, but they hadn't been tested. They were pretty sure their endpoints were being patched and updated, but came to find out there were multiple versions behind on their operating system and some of their key firmware updates for their edge security. So we were able to come in and we provide an email security transition for them, EDR, and some DNS security, as well as patch management. And we're actually able to save them about 10% after adding additional services for them based on how they were previously being engaged. So we work with all types of folks, nonprofits, government sector, middle market, enterprise accounts. Everybody needs these types of services. It's very readily available if you need any help engaging in those from a bundling standpoint. So we kind of went over this, as we go through here, but it's constant support. You can cover every aspect of security, from the backups to the passwords to the endpoints, and you can bundle all those things together. You don't have to, but also remember, when you're partnering with Quest and when you're working on bundled solutions, where Quest can really differentiate is we can help support what's already deployed and augment what they need, right? So we can add what they need and support what they've already invested in. It's probably one of the biggest superpowers of Quest when you're thinking about, hey, who do I bring into this opportunity? We can support what they have in place today, and we can fill the gaps that they may have in a layered approach. So bundling is key, but you got to customize, and customize does not mean expensive. Customize means listening to what they're actually trying to do and providing the building blocks that help them get to where they want to go. So bundling can really help your customers get visibility across endpoint, email, end users, network, and systems. But customization does not mean expensive. It means that we're going to augment what they have. Okay. And then, as a partner, we want you to be confident that you can call Quest 24/7 and escalate to our incident response team, ir@questsys.com. You can talk to us anytime. We'd love to help you and your customers understand where they are in this journey. Everyone's in a different spot. And we would love to help. So we will be following up with you guys after this just to see how it went. We'll send out the recording. We're going to send out some resources on this as well. I saw some questions in the chat around assessments, so we'll make sure to send out some of those resources to you as well. If you want to jump into any previous sessions, please hop on the partner page and jump into the portal under the resources tab. You can see any of these that we've done before. All that training is available for you. So
Yeah, everything's available in the partner portal. So, Adam, I know we're coming up. We got the drawing in a couple minutes, but first, let's get some questions answered. Um, there were people were wondering, can they add a logo to any of the PDFs?
yeah, great question. Yeah, so yeah, Darcy Baker is our VP of marketing. She's on the line right here. We have PDFs available for co-branding, and we'd love to work with you on positioning services together. So absolutely.
Awesome. And great question. Do we need a login to access the partner portal? And if yes, how do they get access, Adam?
No, you do not need a login to access the partner portal. You just have to click two buttons. So if you go to our main website and you click partners, it'll take you to our partner page. And then there's a big blue button in the center of the screen that says Quest Partner Portal, and you can click on that, and it'll take you right in.
Cool. Interested in tools and services specific to risk management. So, are there the question was, are they interested in tools and services that are specific to risk management?
Yeah, there's a lot there. So we run GRC managed services for folks. So we have some platforms there for government risk and compliance, automating those tools. We have a lot of endpoint security and managed backup options as well. We've been doing this about managed risk and compliance for about 30 years. So there really isn't an OEM or manufacturer that we don't have access to. We have engineers who have their favorites, but oftentimes we kind of take that system integrator approach where, if they have a preferred technology, we work with that platform that they need. So
Great. And real quick, Edmund is wondering, can you talk more about the proactive notifications mentioned in the last section? I know we only have a couple minutes. If we can't get to it, Edmund, we can always reach out to you as well. So, Adam, any thoughts on that?
yeah, and Edmund, we can send you a couple of examples. We call them our security advisory notifications. These are So we monitor multiple different security feeds from the industry. We work directly with the FBI and their systems, as well as a couple different other shared security notification platforms, and we're monitoring that 24/7. We support, manage, and maintain pretty much all the main manufacturers out there and some of the unknown ones as well. And then we look at the underlying code that supports those as well. So like if you remember, like Log4j was everywhere. Everyone, all the lazy, not that anyone was lazy, but people, built that vulnerability into a lot of their systems. We're monitoring those underlying platforms as well. So anytime we see something that is a known exploit or a potential exploit, that we're pushing that out to our customers and our partners around those systems. So like, not to mention any specific vendor names, but there are vendors out there that we've all seen have 0-day vulnerabilities, whether it's on VPN or an OS vulnerability or some type of a screen sharing vulnerability or whatever it is. Those are notifications coming out all the time from our team. If you're interested in those, we're happy to put you on that list as well.
Great. Now we are at the drawing portion. So Darcy, VP of Marketing, Darcy is here to have the drawing for the $200 Visa gift card.
Hey everyone, also just want to let you know that I dropped in some links in the chat for some of the sales briefs too, for some of the items that Adam was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So those are in there. And then today's winner is Meredith Blake. So congratulations. Our team will reach out to you after this call with information regarding the gift card that will be sent your way. And we appreciate everyone attending today. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Meredith.
Good stuff. Yeah, thanks again. If you enjoyed the session, again, like it, share it, tell your friends about it. We're looking for feedback, and we'll be coming out with a new session on the new year. So have a great Christmas and a great New Year, and we'll see you back again in 2025.
See you soon.
Thanks, everyone.